Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to our DFY live masterclass for selling PLR. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the box and I will take them. And I'll probably just cover them after the session is over. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about how to profit and leverage your expertise and your experience to create and sell PLR. And this is going to be a different way of looking at creative PLR because we're not just talking about the process of creating files or going to outsource articles or writing the articles or creating videos. There's a process that goes behind this that's going to be important if you really are going to do this. And so we're going to talk about it from this context. First, we want to talk about understanding what your value is, how that's worth and what it means in the market and really trying to look at this beyond what you can see. When you go to the market, you're going to see PLR being sold and you're going to think, well, everything is going to be based on what I can see, how I can fit into that market. And there's more to it that if you can kind of determine what your value is and what you really bring to the marketplace, you don't really have to be bound by what you see in the marketplace. You're really going to be bound by what you can tell the market is wanting. So yes, and to some degree, you do need to see what's actually working. You need to see what's selling. But in another point, you really do have to also understand what it is that you can add uniquely and what you can bring to a market that's going to be looking for something. And so the real word value and potential value of your store of knowledge is probably going to be how you can differentiate yourself. And one is going to be solely based on an audience model. So in other words, what you bring to the market, you can, if you can build an audience, that's going to be the way you're going to be able to create information and be able to generate a profit. So in other words, when you have an audience business model, what you're doing is you're gathering people together. And whether it's a podcast or a YouTube show or some way where you're basically getting people to listen to you or to read you on a regular basis, that's one way to profit from your knowledge and expertise. Somebody wants to hear what you have to say. Somebody wants to read what you write. Somebody wants to hear what you have going on inside of your brain. And basically, that typically is going to mean that you're going to have some exposure in the public eye. When you can do that, I mean, you can sell books and products as a result of your exposure, as a result of your status. I mean, that's one way to sell information. And when you think about it this way, you could share help with people, but that's always going to be secondary to your status. It really is your status and your position in the public eye that's going to bring you the benefit. And the more you can get prominence, the more that you can sell products to the people that are going to be looking for them. And so this is going to be one way of being able to develop your worth. And you're going to be selling some kind of advice or information if you can be in the public eye. And so the problem with this is that it's going to be short lived. And when you think about it, it's never going to be based on the value that somebody sees and what they're getting from you. It's going to be based on your status. And so you don't necessarily want to depend solely on your status because that status can be fleeting. You want to be able to kind of do it based on their need to get information and the fact that you can solve it. You don't want to have it solely be based on their connection to you and having to see you in what it is that you're doing. Now, again, if you have an audience and you can gather that audience around things that you say and do, I mean, that's a way to be able to monetize, and you do that with sponsorship. You're not going to do that by giving advice. You're basically going to give people access to the fact that you can gather people together around what it is that you're saying and doing. And so your job really, if you're going to monetize information, is to gather the audience and then to get the attention of sponsors, right? That's one way to take your expertise and to be able to monetize that expertise by getting people to see how you get this audience together. So, I mean, when you have an audience business model, I mean, you're going to share business you're going to share advice in books, in courses, in live sessions, and other things. Now, let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge, inspiration, Let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge. Let's talk about the other way to determine the va- Let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge, information, and expertise. Now, the other way to come to the market is to lead with a solution. So, in other words, you see something that's happening that's not quite what it should be, and you understand fundamentally how to solve it. And so you come to the marketplace for information, you come to the marketplace for ideas with a solution to a problem that a lot of people are having. And so then when you do that, your personal story is secondary to the need of the person who's looking for that information. And so that's really kind of important to understand. If you understand effectively what the market is suffering from, and you can bring a solution to that market, then you are going to be able to create value. Now, that doesn't mean that, if you have status, that's not going to help you. If you have status, that's going to help you to be able to sell what it is that you're going to be proposing as a solution. But your value and your worth is going to be determined about how badly a customer wants the information that you have, right? So that's another way of being able to bring value to the marketplace based on your knowledge and your expertise. In most cases, the market for information is not going to move according to the customer should be solving. In most cases, the market for information is never going to move according to the problems the customer should be solving. And so it tends to move based on the things that people are desperate to solve right now. People tend not to want to solve the problems that will really benefit them if they looked at things logically. People kind of wait until the last minute, until something is hurting or something is causing them to be in pain. They will then come to the market for information. They will start looking for solutions when that point comes. So, in other words, you need to meet people where they are when they're ready to get information. And if you can determine what that is, you can provide that value to them, you will then be able to prosper in the market for information. So the question is going to be, how do you meet up with this market? How do you find this market need and how do you make sure that you're going to be timed to it? What you're going to do is you are going to find a group of people that are going to be desperate to solve a problem. That's what you're looking to do. Now, again, understanding that you're going to be doing this one step removed as a PLR creator. But you still have to understand where the market for information is. What problem are people having that they're going to be desperate to solve? That means then that in general, what you're trying to do is to be on record about your problem and your potential solution. Now, again, when you do this, what you're doing is you are So let's talk about what you're going to need to profit and leverage your expertise and your experience to create and sell PLR. And probably the most important element you're going to bring to any product that you're going to sell are going to be those unique things that you can add to any particular product or service. And it doesn't mean that every time that you create some kind of PLR that it's going to be something that you personally put in. In some cases, you're going to be outsourcing content. In some cases, you're going to be adding little pieces. In some cases, your training is what you're going to add to it. But still, the number one thing that you need to add, and you got to be thinking about, is you've got to be able to bring something and add something to the table when you bring something to the customer, especially when you're going to sell PLR and if you're going to sell beyond one launch. And so I want to talk a little bit now about what's going to be needed for you to be successful as a content provider, because that's what you are as a PLR seller. And this is going to be a 50,000-foot view, and it's more of a mindset that you're going to have, because anyone can gather together and outsource content. And that's part of the problem. If you think that you're just going to dance into the marketplace and drop some content in there and everyone's going to love you and everyone's going to buy a bunch of copies, that could happen, but it's very difficult to sustain if you don't fully understand the dynamics of the market. And what we're talking about here is the mindset that will help you to succeed with the market dynamic being what it is. Now, when you choose to sell private label rights content, what you have to be willing to do is you've got to be willing to take your best ideas, you've got to be willing to create around those ideas, move fast on them, and leave them. And so the tendency tends to be that when you have a really good idea, because it's going to be different than if you have ideas as a non-PLR creator, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to give people content for them to be able to use in order for them to sell. And so they've got to be able to recognize this as a good idea almost at the point at which they see it. And so those good ideas that you have that you tend to kind of hold out until the best possible time or to that perfect time, your instincts don't work that way when it comes to PLR. You've got to take those best ideas and you've got to put them into a PLR product and you've got to make it available and you've got to move on to the next one and just get a new idea. Part of being able to be a good PLR creator is to come up with good ideas, is to see the marketplace. And there's something about letting go of your best ideas, bringing them to the marketplace, giving them and making them available to people with private label rights. You almost won't get a new idea if you tend to feel like, I got to hang on to this idea until the right time. What you got to do is when you get a good idea, you make it available, you go to the marketplace with it, and then you access a new idea. So your instincts have to work almost in the opposite way than you would if you're just a regular information products creator or seller. And so when you decide to become a content provider, what you're doing is you're trying to give people something that at the first glance, at their first hearing, that they know exactly what they're going to do with it. They know exactly who they're going to sell it to. And if you can get people to see that upon hearing what your product is or hearing the name of the product, then you're going to be a good product content provider over time. If you tend to be the kind of person that kind of holds back your better ideas and you kind of put one forward that isn't necessarily your best idea because you're holding back some of the better ones, you're going to struggle. And so, again, the best way to become a content provider is to bring your best ideas to the marketplace. You probably will at times guess wrong about the market. So sometimes you will bring an idea forward and it will be wrong and the market will not like it. And you can't be the kind of person that if you bring a wrong idea to the marketplace and the marketplace decides they didn't want it and they don't want what it is that you brought, you got to then be able to go and get the next idea and to bring it forward with your next PLR release. And that's the attitude and the mindset you're going to have to have. You're going to guess wrong a lot, and so the key to the whole thing is to be ready with another release whenever your interval is. It doesn't have to be weekly, it doesn't have to be bi-weekly, it can be monthly, but you've got to then be ready at the next interval. If you launch every month and the at the first week of every month, then make sure that at every first of every month that you're ready to go with something new. And so sometimes those ideas, they're going to work, and other times they're just not going to work. And so you've always got to have your best ones available. And then you move on to the next one. You can't save ideas. You can't save product ideas. Now, there are going to be cases where, you're going to run into a seasonal issue, and you might have a product idea that's only going to work for the Halloween season, or it's only going to work for the spring, or it's only going to work for September. Those are cases where, yeah, you're going to hold on to something because those are going to be seasonal. They're going to be based on a particular point in time. But in general, if you've got a good idea and it comes to mind, you want to go ahead and move on that idea and bring it to the marketplace, especially if you think people are going to want it and people are going to buy it from from the person that you are providing the content to. It also means you're going to have to feed your brain. And so whatever the source is for your best ideas, you're going to have a channel into those sources. That's going to be very important because whatever you use in order to come up with good ideas, that's the thing that really needs to be working. And your mindset has to be to feed that part of whoever you are in order to produce that level of content. So if you're going to have and see the future of content creation, you're probably already seeing that a lot of people are creating content and using content and relying on content with artificial intelligence. And it's just a fact of the matter. There are debates that go on. Well, are people going to want artificial intelligence in terms of the content reading, right? Are people going to know the difference? Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. And that's not going to be of concern to you as a PLR provider. What you have to be considering is that yes, AI is going to be available, and all AI can really do is to go out and get sources that are already on the internet. What AI cannot do is it cannot replicate something that you produce that's unique to your experience and unique to what it is that you do every day and unique to some level of knowledge that you are building. So if you are building a new set of knowledge in a particular niche, there's nothing that anyone can do to copy that knowledge. And so as a content provider, what you can add that cannot be consistently generated by a bot, that's what you have to bring to the table. And so that's what you bring to the marketplace. That's going to need to be your niche. You are no longer competing against other people and other PLR providers. And I would argue that most PLR providers are really not competing with you. They're really competing necessarily alongside of you, because most PLR providers will probably promote you to their audience. And so PLR providers are like every other internet marketer and information marketer. If they feel like what you have is going to help their audience or will cause them to generate profit, they will then promote you to their audience. That being said, you are no longer working alongside of just them. You are now working alongside of basically robots. And so all the robot can really do is to go and get something that's in existence. What a robot cannot bring to the table, how a robot cannot add value, is that it cannot add value to something that you create uniquely on a regular basis from your own experience and from your own deep knowledge on subjects. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have consistency of delivery. And so in order to have consistency of delivery, you're going to have to be doing something on a regular basis. That's going to be very, very important. And so what you've got to do as a PLR provider is get the market used to a regular schedule and a pattern of delivery. And that's the way that you go about being a content provider. In other words, you come to the marketplace on a regular basis and you come with something that, again, is going to be unique. You're going to be coming with something that you're going to be basically adding out of your experience or adding out of your knowledge. You will then be able to come to the market on a regular basis and set up a pattern of delivery. What you have to understand about the PLR marketplace in general is that it has low barriers to entry. And so anyone can come into the marketplace, and if they can produce what the marketplace wants, and once again, the market does not really care whether or not you created that content with AI or not. And so that they're going to be indifferent to that question. What the market wants is content that it needs for their products, it needs for their services. And when the market is looking for that content, that's all it wants. It's not going to be concerned with how you used, what you used in order to create it, as long as it sounds like something that they're going to be wanting to write, as long as it sounds like something they want to record, they're going to be happy to pay you for it. And so basically, the market has low barriers to entry. And so because of that, what you have to do is overcome low barriers to entry. There are always going to be people that are going to come to the PLR marketplace in order to compete, and they're going to compete and they're going to come in and out in some weeks and some months. You're going to have a lot of people kind of diving in, and then the other weeks and other months, you're going to have people diving right back out of the marketplace. Typically, in the third quarter, you'll have a lot of people diving into the marketplace. And so, what you've got to do, and the only way that you can overcome this as a content provider, is to be consistent in your delivery. And so to establish a consistent delivery style and a consistent delivery schedule so that people can set their watch by you and so that people know to expect something good from you that, again, you are uniquely bringing from your experience as well as your knowledge and your expertise. That is the way that you overcome low barriers to entry. People are always going to come in and out of the marketplace, and you must compete with them. You are going to be competing with people that are in the marketplace. You're also going to be competing against robots and other ways of creating content. When you come to the marketplace as a PLR provider, what you have to do is you've got to determine a gap in the marketplace. You've got to be able to see a gap in the marketplace for information and digital products that you can fill consistently. Now, I'm not talking about a market idea. I'm not talking about a product idea. I'm talking about a gap in the marketplace. What's not being provided? Doesn't mean you have to stay there, but you basically need to see, and this is going to be the most difficult part of being a consistent PLR content provider. Understanding a gap in the marketplace, deciding that you can be the one to fill it consistently because you have the expertise in order to do it. Even if your expertise is making sure that you outsource to the right people to bring that content to the marketplace. I'm not saying that you have to write it all. I'm saying that you have to bring it to the marketplace. And so if you can do that consistently because you understand the gap in the marketplace, you are then going to be a successful PLR creator because people are going to be looking for what it is that you have because you understand that first, nobody's providing it. You're going to provide it. Second, the market is really looking for it. And so you will have to adjust. So that doesn't mean that you're never going to have to adjust your position just because you found a gap in the marketplace and you decide to fill it. You're going to have to adjust a lot. So don't think that because you discovered this area and you kind of understand it and other people don't really understand it as well as you do. Yeah, other people are going to understand it. You are going to have to adjust at some point. And so that's understanding how to bring your unique talents and your unique effort to the marketplace when you are selling PLR. It also doesn't mean you're never going to have to change. So in other words, you found a gap in the marketplace. I would suggest though that you don't really deviate too much, right? You understand what it is that you do well. And once again, what you have to understand is just because you have something that doesn't do well a particular month or doesn't do a particular well in a particular period of time, that doesn't mean that the market is wrong. That doesn't mean that you guessed wrong about the gap for information. It could just mean that that product has bad timing. Every time that you bring a product to market, it's not going to be a home run. You've got to be consistent in what you deliver. And so coming to the marketplace, deciding you know what the market is, you know where the gap is, you know how to consistently provide for that particular part of the market. Sometimes you're going to have to adjust. Sometimes you're going to have to change what it is that you offer, but you are going to want to stay with that market and that gap as long as you possibly can to develop what's called a strategic competitive advantage. Now, it also means you've got to recognize what you can consistently offer and what people are going to want in terms of content. And so part of being a PLR creator is you've got to be able to see one step removed. And so once again, the most important part of this is that your customer, the content creator, they've got to be able to see all in one glance when they hear your product offer, when they hear what your PLR is about. In most cases, people may not even be looking at the sales letter when they buy it. That's going to be the power of your being consistent in the marketplace, is making sure people understand what they're getting when they get it from you first. Secondly, that they instantly understand what they're going to do with that offer when you make mention of it. That's how you know that you've got an idea that's really going to be helpful, that people are going to be willing to buy. Now, the other thing that you're going to have to do, and this is going to be kind of important, and this is going to be more important even than your product idea. It's as important as finding a gap in the marketplace, and that is being able to apply basic marketing principles. And that might not sound very exciting, but it is important, and it will make the difference between whether you're going to generate sales on a continual basis and whether you are not, going to. What are those basic marketing principles that we are talking about here? Now, what we are talking about here is building a marketing system. That's what we are talking about doing. You have to build a marketing system. And basically, a marketing system is going to be about getting the customer to see your offer and the need to be systematic to the best of your ability. So basically, now the 6 things that we're going to talk about in this system, they will enhance your ability to get the right customer to see your offer. That's what marketing is bringing that right customer to what it is that you have to offer, and then being able to systematize this. Because as an information marketer, what you're going to find is that you only have a finite amount of time. And an information marketing business is a lifestyle business. Some people would prefer not to have to outsource because, as a lifestyle issue, they don't want to have to manage anybody. Some people like providing content because they don't necessarily want to be part of the consulting class. So they don't want to go out and cold call. And again, as a PLR provider, you decide what it is you want to sell. You decide how you want to fit in the marketplace. You decide the lifestyle you want to have along with your business. Regardless, you've got to build a system for marketing. When you build a system for marketing, what you are basically doing is some of the process you're going to do it yourself. Some of the process you are going to set in motion. Some of the processes are going to work because you set them in motion. And so again, the key to this is a system that works to bring the right person to your particular product offers and your brand. So this is going to be apart from production, because PLR is about production. And so part of this is, how do you get the work done? How do you get the work done on a regular basis? How do you get the work done so it's the right thing? Now that is part of the process, but this marketing system is probably going to be even more important than your production, believe it or not. Getting the right person to your offers, getting them there consistently, is probably more important than what it is or how it is you produce. Now, it's not important than what you produce. It's definitely more important than how you get the product completed and done. Because once again, your customer doesn't necessarily care how you get it done. You've got to make sure that you bring and satisfy the market with what it wants. They don't necessarily want to hear everything that you did to put it together. What they want to know is, does it fit what it is that they're doing? Because that's why they came to you, in order to buy it. And so you've got to be able to know without a shadow of a doubt that what you're bringing to them actually is going to work for them. And so you've got to know without a shadow of a doubt that what you're bringing to them is going to work for them. One of the first elements that you're going to have at the brand level and at the product level is a unique selling proposition. Every product that you release should have something that people cannot get from other PLR creators, that they cannot get other places in the marketplace that they cannot get most immediately from your direct competitors. You've got to bring something to the marketplace. And so, yes, in some cases, the fact that you found the timely set of articles, or you found the timely subject that people want to have in video content, that's great. However, over time, you still need to have something that people know that they can only get from you, because you're going to generate some sales as a PLR creator because you produce something, a particular part of the process, you do it extremely well that people cannot get elsewhere and people don't want to produce. Now, that doesn't mean that people will not come in and try to compete with you. But again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to establish, both at the product level and at the brand level, something unique about what it is that you do. Is it going to be the fact that you do training on a regular basis? Is it going to be the fact that you add expert interviews? Is it going to be the fact that you provide some kind of artifact, whether it's in a PowerPoint presentation? However you do it, every product you produce needs to have some unique element that other people are not producing. And when you start to sense that other people are coming in behind you and they are providing things that you necessarily, let's say you're not providing, you need to innovate, right? You don't need to compete all the time, but you need to create, and you need to create something unique, again, that is sustainable, that's competitive, and that you have an advantage in. Upselling and cross-selling, or exponential marketing, is what Jay Abraham called it. You always need to make sure that at every point at which somebody is buying from you, that they have the opportunity to buy other things. In some cases, this means what I call a horizontal funnel. So in other words, people can get your adjacent offers. They come to you to buy something on Facebook marketing, but they can also buy something on YouTube marketing. So you have adjacent offers. You have developmental offers and funnels. So in other words, people buy something for you on Facebook ads. They can also then learn how to operate Facebook groups. So you also have developmental products. At a particular point in time, depending on how your sales process is, you also have an upsell and cross sell or bump offer when people make the first purchase. In other words, they come to your page, they decide they're going to commit to what it is you're selling, and you're going to give them the opportunity to either generate more happiness or to generate more results by giving them something else that you know is going to benefit them, based on the fact that they've already made the commitment to purchase, based on the fact that they've made the commitment to purchase your first product. And so you want to give them something as a result of that, that give them the opportunity to buy it, because it's going to help them to improve what it is that you have given them in the first or front end offer. Now, of everything that you're going to be doing, you must be doing list building at every point in time. That's going to be vital, because if you're launching products and you are not building your list, then what's going to happen is eventually you're going to run out of gas in terms of trying to find people to sell to, and you're going to have to go out and get new customers with every single product launch. And that's not the way you want to do it. More than likely, the very best customer you have is one that's already bought from you. And the only way that you're going to be able to harness that is to make sure that you are in contact with them on a regular basis. That's probably going to happen on email. Now, you can use social media and Facebook Messenger and some of these other applications. However, you must understand that you don't own those platforms, or you have little to no control over them. Someone can ask you to leave that platform at any point in time if they don't like the way that that you communicated something. In some cases, they may not like the way you communicate in a place even outside of their platform. You've got to build your own list, and right now, at this moment, that's probably going to be email. And if you don't have an email list, whatever you're doing, you've got to move that activity where you are right now from where you are to your email list. And you've also got to start communicating with that email list on a regular basis. List building is not just adding in a lot of names so that you have 10,000 names or 20,000 names or 50,000 names on your list. What's most important is, always has been, the relationship you have with the people that are part of your subscriber list. And that really does take emailing every single day. And it takes basically trying to reach through the computer screen in order to connect with that individual when you are writing. That's what list building is. You're not only building up the numbers, but you are also building it as an asset. A list is not going to be an asset if you never email it. So if you have a big list and you've got all these thousands of names, but you've never sent an email and you're just kind of waiting for that right time, and you're waiting for that day, it's not going to work. So what's always going to be important is going to be the fact that you've got an email list, you're in contact with them on a regular basis, and you then have a relationship with them that you are building every day. That's what building up a list is. It is database building. It is list building. It is making sure that it becomes an asset in your hands. Part of what you're going to be doing as a PLR creator is partnering. Part of what you're going to be doing is affiliating. Part of what you're going to be doing is collaborating. And so this is basically working with other people. And so you're going to be working with people inside of the niche. That's what I call partnering. And you're going to be collaborating with people. Those are going to be people who are outside of the niche. So basically, what you're doing every time you work with someone else is you expand the number of ways that you can connect with other people. You expand the number of opportunities you have to meet different audiences. All of that is going to be important as you begin to become a PLR seller. You have to have a network. And you can't always fully depend on your affiliate network, because your affiliate network is going to go where they can make the most money. And they're going to make the most money at a particular point in time. You can't necessarily follow that market. You've got to make sure that you are building partners and affiliates, and that you are collaborating with people outside of the niche, always growing your influence. And again, this is going to be the easiest way to add people to your list. It's going to be the easiest way to add people to your audience by making sure that you have the audience, that you have people that are promoting you, that you have people who are talking you up, that you have people who are putting you on their podcast, you have people who are putting you on their video show, and you are working with them so that, again, you're helping them to create content in some cases, but they're also helping you by giving you exposure. And so partnering, affiliating, and collaborating, all of those three things are important. Now, you need to develop good relationships with your affiliates, because your affiliates are going to bring most, if not all, of your traffic to your affiliate offers and to whatever it is that you're producing as a PLR seller. In most cases, it's going to be about your relationship with the affiliates. And so you must systematize this. This is another difficult part of this process, is that it cannot just be that you're going to spend all day on Messenger and all day on Skype with every little JV partner and everybody who wants to talk to you about their problems and their next launch. That works for them. It's not going to work for you. And so yes, you do need to have affiliates, but you must build a system in order to develop a business relationship with them, one that benefits them and one that benefits you. If it does not fit within your system, you've got to be careful about adding your activity to being in contact with people that are not going to add to your system. For example, you can have a very big JV in one particular market or niche, someone who could change your business by promoting for you once. But if you spend all day, every day, talking to that person, having conversation with them, finding out about their kids and commenting on their social media posts and bringing them basically to a point in your business that you should only be reserving for people who actually bring you sales. So some cases you're after an affiliate that could bring you sales instead of working with the people that are actually bringing you sales. Now again, all we're talking about doing is making sure that you're systematizing your affiliate contact, that you're systematizing the relationships you build, you're systematizing how it is that you go about working with affiliates. And collaboration is basically stepping outside of your comfort zone, talking to people, and this works extremely well if you have some medium like a blog or a podcast or a video channel. because that's the easiest way to collaborate with somebody who's not in your market. You got to be able to bring them some kind of value. Easiest way to do that is to say, hey, I'll have you on my show, my podcast, or my blog. Do you have something as an affiliate that I can promote for you? Right? That's probably going to be music to their ears. They're happy then to help you to create the content. They're happy to collaborate with you. In many cases, they're happy to tell their audience about having met you. And then the fact that you've got something going on that they need to come to. So again, collaboration is for people outside of your market. Partnering is for people within your market. Let's talk about partnering for a minute. In some cases, a temporary partnership for a product can be a very good thing. Now, you got to be careful about turning partners into a permanent aspect of your business. If unless you know that person extremely well, unless you know that you both have the same outlook on what it is you're trying to do, and also that whatever system you're using, it's so transparent that you know exactly what you're earning, they know exactly what they're earning, and that as much as possible, you want to use a system that's going to be hands-free in terms of you getting what it is that you've got coming to you in order to be paid, right? I think Warrior Plus does that. I think JVZoo does that. ClickBank does that. Basically, you've got a system where if you've got a partner, they don't have to guess at what they're earning on a particular sale. You don't have to guess what they're earning, and then you don't have to handle the payment. That's what's going to be most important. So again, all four of these elements are going to be important as you develop your system. Now, I do want to say a little bit about status again and direct marketing. Your status does matter, and it probably shouldn't be, and I wish it wasn't this way, but it matters. Some people are going to buy some things because you are high in status. So whatever you can do to raise your status. Now, I'm not saying that you got to hang out all day, every day on social media. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is you do need to raise your status. You do need to go from kind of who you are to be known as a personality. One of the easiest ways for you to be able to do that is to do some kind of weekly training, do some kind of podcast where people can hear your voice, see your face, and associate you with what it is that you are getting people to buy. Your status matters. So you've got to build something, right? I'm not saying that you have to be on camera or that you got to have your face. If you don't want to have your face on camera, that's fine, but you've got to build something. And so if you're, let's say, shy and you don't necessarily like to be seen and heard, then write a blog. Then start writing a blog. In other words, something you've got to do in order to raise the opportunity for people to see you in a better light or a higher light than just you. So yeah, part of direct marketing is going to be status. Yes, you need to make sure you've got secure urgency in your offer. Yes, you've got to make sure you've got scarcity in your offer. Yes, you've got to make sure you've got bullet points, all that stuff. But a lot of those things are set in motion so that those statements that you make in terms of copywriting, they work when you have status. They work better when you have status. The higher your status is, the better all your direct marketing is going to work. And so the world is like this. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be that you got to be a personality or you've got to be a somebody in order to get everything to work for you. It shouldn't be that way. I understand that. It just does. And so to the best of your ability, make sure you raise your status on a regular basis. Educational and community marketing. As you get customers, as a PLR creator, you need to train them. You need to make sure they understand how to use your content. You need to make sure how they're going to generate profit with what it is that you're selling. And if you don't know that, you got to go find that out. In some cases, it may be on your sales page, but you've got to show people how it's going to work. It's your responsibility. Basically, the more that you can appear, the more that you can show up and be basically on their side. That once they bought from you, you're on their side in order to use what you sold them, in order to help them to get the most out of what it is that they have purchased from you. And you do that with education. Education is the easiest way to be able to do this with your customers and your prospects. And this could take the place to, and this could be a weekly webinar. It could be a weekly Q&A. It probably should be weekly. It probably shouldn't be any less than that. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be 15 minutes. I mean, you can get away with doing, let's say, a YouTube video or maybe a brief podcast. You can get away with those things. But really and truly, if you really want to build, first of all, your status, second of all, have education work so it's working for you, you've got to do a weekly training. And you do that weekly training with the people that are buying from you, and you show them how to be a better customer. How do you show them how to do that? By getting the most out of what they've already purchased from you. Because if they get the most of what they've purchased from you, they're going to come back for more of it. And so basically, your job and your training is to help them to become the best them they can be with your stuff, right? And so again, understanding that if you can do that consistently, you'll probably be able to can get people to come back to you consistently because again, the best customer you have is going to be the customer that's already buying from you. Now, what you're trying to do as a PLR seller is you're trying to get to the point where you're going to be an occasional seller. You're trying to get away from being an occasional seller, and you want to have a system that makes you a consistent seller. And the only way you're going to do that is to build these marketing principles into a system. So again, your system should make sure that every product you do is going to be unique. Your system should make sure that your brand is unique. Your system should make sure that you're always adding an upsell or cross-sell. Your system should make sure that in everything you're doing, you're list building. All of these are systematic. And so you've got to build them to a point as much as you can that you automate a lot of these things. Even educational marketing. Not everything has to be in person. Now, obviously, if you can be in person, you can do some of your training. That's going to be great. But you should also have some training that's automated, that people get to, that people see. And, if you've got to do things like create a YouTube video or some kind of training, at very minimum, automate the process of spreading it around social media. Don't try to do all that yourself. You want to make sure that to the best of your ability, a lot of these things are going to be systematic. Anything you can build into a system is going to be helpful in terms of building you into the kind of information marketer that's not going to be an occasional seller, but you're going to be a consistent seller. So you want to go from occasional to consistent. That's basically what we are trying to do when we build out what it is that when we build our PLR system. Okay, are there any questions? Any questions? Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with me here. Have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.
Subscribe our channel, share this video your friends. Thanks for watching.